For part 2 of module 2 objects, final task. So for task 2.1, main properties of metadata objects. So we need to uh, make sure that the titles of our documents expense looks like this figure 2.1. So in this part, and then we need to use prefixes in our titles. So here is vis dash that place in front of respective our document. So in one's enterprise mode, it looks like this one. We have here the title, expense document, number sign, COH the 001 dated July 8, 2022, 4:51 a.m. So since we have this account cash on hand, so we have the prefix COH because in our accounts for our cash on hand, we specify the prefix as ZOH thus. So let us try to create the expense type using bank accounts. This one, Visa debit card, having this prefix VIS. So let us go in expense and then let us create our document and then let us choose Visa card for this transaction. So let us uh, pause and close. So we have here the Visa card having the number. So this is the title, expense document, number signed VIS the 001 uh, as our title and as our prefix for this problem, task 2.1, the main properties of metadata objects. So for task 2.2 is about constants. So we need to add a default account for our document. So on opening document for expense and income. So we need to set our default account. So we have here our tools for default account. So let us click. So in this case, our default is cash on hand. So let us change it to Visa debit card. For example, so let us save and close. So let us go to our expense. And then when we create our document expense, upon opening, so the default is Visa debit card. So it must be same true with our income transaction. So when we create our documents, the default account must be Visa debit card. So let us try another default account to make sure that uh, the system works correct. Bank accounts, that must be our default. So upon opening, when we create our expense, so it must be the default account, bank accounts. So same true with income. When we create, the default must be bank account. So that is about task 2.2. In task 2.3 is to set our hierarchy. Now, for our accounts, we need to use uh, arrange our items using folder, but in catalog expense type, the hierarchy must be a nesting item. So here it was looks like in our once enterprise mode. So the hierarchy of our accounts is arranged by folder. So as we can see, a folder icon here, and it is a nesting unlimited. Same true with expense type, but this is nested by item. So we have your bills. So under bills, we have electric bill and water bill. So that is about task 2.3 hierarchy. So for task 2.4, predefined data. So it says here that from time to time, users might be in a hurry when filling in expense or income documents. Should users forget to specify type of expense? So the system should automatically allocate the expense on element other in catalog expense types. So in our once enterprise mode, this is what the problem means when we create. So we have your expense type as well as in the table. So it says here if the user is in a hurry and uh, forgot to specify the expense type. So when we pause and close or save, so the system will automatically write other as our default expense type. So let us click save. So as we can see, it automatically put other in our expense type. So that is about task 2.4 predefined data. So for our uh, task 2.6 real-time and backdated posting. So let us skip first task 2.5. So let us do first task 2.6, which is real-time and backdated posting. So make sure the balance of register ledger gets checked on posting expense documents in real time. So in case of backdated posting, the system should display the following warning. Document number, posted on date, and then how many days ago. So when we say real time, that is a current date today. So in our case, we are now in July 8th. So for the backdated posting, it must be the earlier date than July 8th. So that is July 7, July 6, July 5, June something, May. That is what we call backdated posting. So let us try to do this transaction. So let us create the transaction. So the date today is July 8th. So let us use the backdated posting. So let us use July 7. So we have to pause our transaction. So we need to add first here because we cannot pause if this is a blank document. Okay, so let us pause, and then it has a mention because I am not there is no transactions there. Okay, so let us pause, and then so this should appear, no, document Band 002 posted on July 7, 12 p.m. 0 days ago. So if we try to change it in most earlier time, July 1, so let us try to pause. So it also has a message, document band 002 posted on July 1, 2022, 12 a.m. 7 days ago. So that is for our uh, real-time and backdated posting. So if we try to use the current date, which is 8, so we can now pause this transaction without any message because this is real-time, not backdated transaction. So So for our last problem, task 2.5, accumulation and information register. So here we need to implement a budgeting feature. No? So for our budgeting feature, we should be able to make a monthly budget broken down by our expense types. So the total monthly budget amount should be stored in a field budget plan of our metadata object. So in our once enterprise mode, we have here our budget planning features. So when I click this budget planning features, we can set each expense type, how many budget or how much we should spend or budget that we should spend for each expense type every month. So for example, we need to set groceries 1,000 as our budget for the month. For electric bill, we expect 2,000 as our budget for the month, and for other, we have 500. So meaning, if we set 1,000 for groceries, we can only spend a maximum of 1,000 for a month. Okay, and then each for our budget execution, it should be reflected in our budget execution. So for example, here we have your groceries 1,000, and then we already have 200 as our first transaction spent for groceries, and for others we spent already 100 for the budget of a budget plan of 500 and a budget plan of 1,000 for grocery. And for the other bill, we have a budget plan of 2,000, but we have no transaction yet for electric bill. So let us try to uh, uh, see the other required tasks. The information on the execution of a monthly budget should be collected in our metadata object budget execution as I have shown. Now, all expenditures get recorded by field amount of this object. So the expenditures get broken down by period and expense type. So we have also here our period. The period is the date. Okay. And document spends get posted to accumulation register budget execution. So let us choose this expense type other. So since we have a budget plan of 500 in our planning, we have budget plan of 500. So in our budget execution, we already have spent 100. So we have a remaining 400 budget for other. So in our expense, let us try to spend our month. So for example, let us try to use 500. And then let us use our bank account. So let us check first the availability of our bank accounts. So our bank accounts here is we have uh, 10,000 as available funds for this transaction. So it is possible to ex- to have or spend uh, expense type other for 500 because we have available funds of 10,000 for bank accounts. So let us try to pause this transaction if the system accept it. But remember, our budget for our expense type other is only 500, and we already spent 100 for this budget plan. So let us pause. So it will not pause. It display a message you have exceeded the budget plan. The budget plan for other is 500. So if we do this transaction, we already have a total of 600. So it will not allowed by the system to pause this transaction because we already exceeded the budget plan. So let us try to use 200 if the system accept this transaction. So the system will accept the transactions because in our budget execution now we have 300 spent for the budget plan of 500 to others. So we still have 200 um, amount to spend more in other as our budget plan for other. Now, what if the case is the account or the availability of the account is not enough for the transaction? So for example, we have here our cash on hand 500 as our income, and we already spent 100, so the available funds for cash on hand is only 400. So let us try to use again other. Now we still have 200, but in our cash on hand the available funds is 400. Okay, so let us try to uh, clear this transaction. And so to check, we have now available 400 for other expense type for this transaction. So let us try. The available for cash is 400. So we, for the budget plan, the available monthly budget now is 400. So let us try to use this transaction, and then let us use cash on hand as our transaction. So let us spend 500 again, and let us try to pause and close. So there are not enough funds to complete the transaction cash on hand. So we have a deficit of 100. So let us use uh, 400. So since this transaction meet all the requirements, our available funds for cash on hand earlier is 400, and for our budget execution is monthly budget is 400. So it accepts the transaction here and here. So now, as we can see, our cash on hand is zero because we have income 500, and we spent 100 and 400 for cash on hand. And for our budget execution, we already use all the budget plan for other as 500. So let us try to use again the cash on hand and the expense type other, and then let us use 100. So when we save, no, the amount is required online too. So when we save, again, when we save, pause and close. You have exceeded the planned budget. List of these visits other budget